Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Should You Play with me, Striker HD. And in today's episode we shall be taking a look at the newly released Age of Wonders 3. As always, I'll give you the background on the game, then we'll go over to the settings, the audio and graphical settings and rebindable keys, etc. Then we'll actually take a look at the graphics and audio themselves in game. Then we'll go over to the content. I'll tell you what's involved with it, what campaigns, scenarios, etc. And then finally we'll finish off with a conclusion, and hopefully I'll help you answer that all important question as to whether you should play Age of Wonders 3. So yeah, without further ado, it is developed by Triumph Studios and also self-published by them as well. They are a Dutch company if you're interested, and it was released on the 31st of March 2014 for Windows only. It is a 4X turn-based strategy game. If you're not aware of the term 4X, it's basically stands for Explore, Expand, Exploit, Exterminate. And there's a few games that come under that category, including the not so long ago released Star Drive, as well as Civilization, which many of you will be familiar with. And if you like Civilization, then before we even get started, I'm going to say I recommend giving this a go. And you'll see why as we carry on. So we'll hop over to the options menus. So you've got typical gameplay options where you can get your tips, the types of info bars and things you want. So they're by default all on. The tactical combat action camera, as they like to call it, is pretty good, but a lot of people will probably want to turn that off. We'll show you that later anyway. Graphics options, there's enough. I'll give them that. They got standard resolution options. However, bear in mind if you go above 1080p, or it might even be just 2560 by 1440 and above, weird black boxes appear where things are out of the line, and they haven't patched that yet. They do plan to though, so bear that in mind. You then have your refresh rate, so it could go up to 120 Hz, I believe, if you can do that. Your standard 3 display modes, as well as a quality preset option. You got your texture quality, shadow quality, and ambient occlusion quality as well. So there's 3 options, or 3 or 4 options, all of them. Then you got anti-aliasing on or off. I always like to see actual levels of that, so 2 times, 4 times, but there we go, better than nothing. As well as soft particles, reflections, and bloom. So these are all things if you wanted to play it on a laptop or a lower end system, you could just tick off and you might not notice the difference, and it would improve performance. But it runs well anyway, so probably not necessary. Audio sliders, yay! Many of them as well. So you got the master audio, and then you got the separate music one. So effects, ambient speech, units, events, and the interface. So you can tailor that to how you wish, as well as all the rebindable keys with a primary and secondary mode. But the controls are pretty simple, so you don't have to worry too much about that. So overall, the options menu is fantastic. So yeah, I'll go into the gameplay. As you can see here, you've got a new campaign option. There are 2 campaigns included from 2 different heroes' perspectives. Sorry, English is not my forte apparently. And then you've got a scenario, which many of you who have played Civilization before will be familiar with, where you can effectively set up your own game, set up how many factions you want, the size of the map, etc. and do a game that way. Or you could do quite a nice feature where you can just do a random map. It'll just throw you into a game. Continue is obviously for your most recent thing. You got load game options, and there is also online multiplayer. I haven't given this a try myself, but I recommend you looking it up if you're interested, just to see how it plays, because the battles can take a while to complete. So I'm not sure how that works, because obviously in Civilization 5 the battles are all strictly you attack or you get attacked, and that's pretty much it. They're not real time, whereas in this game they are more so, which I will show you. So we'll have a quick look at the loading times when this loads up. And as you can see, it is very, very short. It is on an SSD, bearing it in mind, but it probably wouldn't be that much longer on a standard hard drive. So here you can see the campaign I'm playing is the second of the 2, where you play Edward, who is part of the Dreadnought race. And yeah, I'll show you what it's all about. So many of you will be familiar with the kind of layout you're seeing here. Again, I'll make many references to Civilization. So as you can see, if I hover over what am I hovering over there? Not a clue. Oh, there. So as you can see, they are hexes effectively, kind of hidden, but there you can see they are hex based. much like Civilization, and I can show you the actual map here, so you can see the size of it, which is quite nice actually. I kind of like this old medieval drawn maps, and you just zoom back in. But yeah, so in terms of the actual city building and things involved, if I hop over here, again, you'll recognise this menu. Anyone who's played Civilization in the past will recognise this style of layout, where you got the builders you can choose from to improve them. They give like upgraded stats on the units that come out, or you can just build housing and sort of like religious buildings that will then grant you ways of getting more mana, which plays a part in this game because obviously it's set in a fantasy world. And then you get all your units, which of course whichever buildings you choose to make will dictate which units you can build. There's good variety. You go from long range ones with magical power, so you just got the standard archer, but then you also have a human priest, as well as settlers like Civilization, and then more advanced interesting things like flame tanks, which are pretty cool. I believe I actually have one of them if I'm not mistaken. Actually no, it's creating it at the moment, so hopefully we'll get to see that when I show you the combat. So yeah, that's all very familiar to most people. It's not too in-depth. As you see with one of my lesser cities, there's a few less options. You can do things like defences to make it harder if someone attacked. Things like hospital. So you've got a lot of choices there. Obviously you've got to bear in mind the time they take, the gold they take, the mana they take, etc, etc. But besides just choosing what building you're going to build, that's pretty much all you do. You don't have to maintain them. You don't have to keep give them upkeep, things like that. So that's not too involved. However, this game's main strength is the combat, so I will quickly try and get into that. And while we're on the map screen actually, we shall talk about the graphics of the game. What is that? That is a human builder. So yeah, as you can see, the map does look pretty nice. I'd say it is comparable to Civilization in terms of fidelity. These nice details, if I get rid of that, within the actual cities themselves. You can see individual buildings, which is pretty cool. And then each of these little kind of outlays has their own little details, with the sheep for the windmill farm, as well as like the mana pool's got a nice little effect. As you can see, there's wildlife and all sorts of different environments around. I've actually cast a spell, which I'll talk about in a bit, over my land here, so you can see it's turned tropical. Which basically changes the conditions of within that city area. And certain populations will prefer tropical environments over, say, Arctic environments, and it so happens that the Dreadnoughts prefer that, so that's what I went for. Let's see, I think there's actually an army down here. But yeah, graphical wise, it's pretty simple, but it works well enough. Yeah, there we go, there's an army. So we shall go and attack them, I do think. They're not too strong. What have I got though? Well, I'll show you quickly how you would build something. So if we go for... Let's go for a priest, because I don't have one in the army. And then you simply end your turn. It tells you who requires your orders. Again, you'll see here even the noises and the way it's laid out. Very Civilization-like. So you'll all feel at home if you are familiar with that. Kind of annoying though, you have to make them camp like each turn rather than them just not hassling you each turn and just doing that. Like in Civilization, I can't word it right, but in Civilization where you just tell your units to sleep and they will continuously. It doesn't seem to be a way of doing that. I might just be missing it, but there we go. And it tells you the what you've constructed and things like that. And then while we're here, I'll show you the world spells quick. These are some of the world spells. So the Summon Spy Drone is actually one, as well as the Hellhound. So these are actual units. The Spy Drone you saw me control is just over here. So that'll do what you think. Hellhound is just a very powerful hound, effectively. And then there's ones like this, which are more arguably more interesting and unique, where a target your friendly city now likes tropical and volcanic terrain, like I said. So that's the one I've cast on all of my cities, I believe. And that just improves morale, which aids production and things like that. So they take a few turns, or just one turn to create, as well as mana from the mana pool, which is this one here. And you get your, again, like Civilization, your pluses and minuses depending on how well you're doing. You also have a tech tree, I didn't want to do that. Let's go back in here. There you go. So I'd say tech tree. It's a bit less intuitive than the Civilization one, where you can literally follow the tech tree here. If I went to research a cannon, it would come up with level 5. As you see, that's level 4, level 5 of whatever the next thing is. As well as that, will come up with level 6, etc, etc. So you go through the different variations. You've got spells you can research, as well as the buildings. Obviously, they've got the symbols. And these ones are Empire-wise spells, and these are in-battle spells that you can cast. So yeah, we're going to tell these guys to camp. And you see how I can research a new skill. And probably go for... forget overload. Okay, for that I need some more combat spells. So yeah, we'll just get this guy to come over here. Just take 2 turns. We can go through that. And we shall get a stone wall because it's on the edge, so you might as well make it protected. End the turn. We'll do one more production over here. That does mean I have a flame tank, which is rather interesting. We'll see if we can get a chance to show that. As you see, the units are represented similarly again to Civilization with a 3D model, obviously not to scale, but they look pretty cool nonetheless. Go on here. Probably get another cavalry because they're pretty impressive. And over here we shall get... probably want to improve this place, get a hospital. Let's quickly go through all this for the purpose of the video. Go, 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 go. You can't get in there, right? Yeah. Right, so get the priest in there and I'll show you some of the combat. And this is really the game's forte and where it stands out from the rest of the 4X strategy genre. Let's get... yeah, sounds pretty good. We'll get that. And here as well, this is another unique thing, which many of the games don't have. You have your heroes. So currently I have 2. I have Edward and Larissa. You have to keep these 2 alive. I believe Edward can die in battle, but Larissa, if she dies, it actually tells me here, I believe. I can't click on for some reason. That if she dies, it is game over. So you want to upgrade them as much as you can. You can see I have 8 upgrade points. So for Larissa, I probably want to go for defense. And we'll upgrade her on that. As well as... magical buffs. Okay, yeah, you could go for a few. So spirit shield. Probably defensive ones, you want to keep her alive. That costs a lot. Did not realise that because that was actual ability. But as you see, you got passives. You got actual abilities. And then... as you go through the campaign, you will find various items you can equip them with, weapons, shields, armor, etc. So that's pretty interesting. I can show you Edward quick, same type of thing. Got his own upgrades, got his own equipment he can use. And it shows you their XP progress towards the next level. So yeah, that's pretty unique. Very nice feature. Adds kind of the Diablo type looting and things. Well, not looting, but in the way of upgrades. You're giving them weapons. You can make your own little character. What am I doing? Don't stop hassling me. Go for a trebuchet because I actually want to take a town that is over there at some point. You can just say stupid. It's over here. I want to take that at some point, but we are going to attack these guys. We'll end the turn. And here we go. So when I initiate a battle, it will come up with a slate, kind of again, Civilization style, where it will tell you how likely you are to succeed. And here it says very likely victory. You can choose to not cast spells, which can change the outcome, which basically just save the mana you've got. So if you're running low, you probably want to do that. You can then abort the attack, or highlighted the attack, which was of course there, because if you got attacked from the other side of the map, then you just press that and zoom out and over. You can auto combat, because like I say, the battles can take a while, but for the purpose of the video, we shall do manual combat. So this is the introduction they give you. This is actually on Arctic terrain, which is one of the first times I fought on full Arctic, which is pretty cool. So you can see there's a visual representation. And it gives you a little, there's the action cam. You know, already attacking our horses, which is not helpful. I would like to be able to set out your army first. I don't know if there's a way of doing that. I've also got my human builder in here, which was a mistake, but there we go. So, these guys probably want to run, because they are not going to be too helpful. As you see, it is hex-based. However, unlike Civilization, it takes you into this battle arena, and there's a lot more strategy involved. So I'm actually going to get the flank on these guys. So I get them to go over here, and as you see, you can zoom in all the way. And they've got action points, which is basically the hexes around them. They change colours. So if I went to here, if I went to here, that's obviously the furthest I can go with my current move points, which are represented up here. And then you can attack afterwards. So if I can actually attack from here, but you can see there is a range penalty. So if I move to here, I believe, I will no longer get a range penalty. So there we go. So we'll choose the Spirit Ray. Take it out on these guys. That seems pretty effective. Horses obviously have a longer rate. There is things like flanking maneuvers. Currently, obviously, it says I can't reach them, but once I get into that, I will show you how you can flank the enemy, which is pretty interesting because it gives you a bonus, of course. Let's pretty go up here. They shouldn't be able to attack us. They can attack through, or rather over, obstacles as well, but again, it will give them a penalty. For instance, if I went to attack, no, I can't show you currently, but basically if these were archers, I wanted to attack them, I could. However, it would give me a penalty. So for now, I probably want to attack these guys with the crossbows. And so I was talking about the sound, or I actually missed it. I'm just going to charge these guys down, why not? Ah, should kill them? Yeah, look at that. Horses might take a beating next turn though. And yeah, as I was talking about graphics, I'll talk about the audio. As you can hear, the soundtrack is incredible. It is absolutely epic. From start to finish, it ramps up during battles, calms down to a more subtle fantasy vibe. Oh no, horses. During the just campaign map screen type of thing, or the map screen rather. And then when you're in the battles, it ramps up to this kind of epic stance, and it's wonderful. It portrays the fantasy realm so well. And I believe the composer for it, I don't have his name written down unfortunately, and I apologise for that. However, I believe he is quite well known within this genre. So my flanking move has actually failed now, so that's not too helpful. But yeah, I heard a lot of good things about him, and I believe them all now. Right, I think we should probably get up close and personal. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Charge! Oh, they are pretty big, aren't they? Wow. With these guys, you see, you get a penalty for shooting through your own units as well. So I don't want to do that. But the actual soundtrack and the music is phenomenal. The sound effects, not so much. They sound a bit bland. So you see flanking there it came up with, so I'll get bonus damage there. And obliterated them. That was rather fantastic. And just charging, see if we can finish it. So you can hear the sound effects. They aren't fantastic. They sound kind of dull and samey all the time. But they're satisfactory. And then it just gives you an overview. Because that was actually one of my objectives. So there we go. Hostile lands, blah blah blah, yep. And yeah, so you see my units are now injured, so they need to go back and rest. I'm actually going to put the builder there. Production, just queue up one more. Probably go for another archer because I don't think I have one over there, so we'll do that. And get the horsey to go in there. So yeah, I showed you some of the combat. Obviously it's more advanced than that. I didn't actually show you any of the spells unfortunately, but they're basically the same as the Empire-wide spells. You could just cast them on specific units, either friendly or enemies, to debuff or buff. And give you the advantage if you need it. You can come up against some very tough enemies. As well as when you're besieging a settlement. So I besieged a fort. The one over here actually. And I didn't actually take any siege equipment, but because the enemy didn't have any ranged units, they actually came out of the gates, and it shows you, it represents the gates, so they would be wooden or stone, or none at all, in which case it would just be a normal battlefield. But you can get siege weapons, so in this army here, I have a battering ram, which would of course be great at taking down gates. And then I also have, I imagine the flame tank's not too bad at destroying structures, a cannon, which are rather fantastic. So yeah, if you click on full unit details, it gives you a nice 3D model and tell you the stats of them, what they like, what they don't like, the kind of abilities they have. So obviously reinforces extra armor and they can take a beating, as well as these things and what they're protected about against even. So when you're in battle, you know what to send them into fight and what not to. And as you can see, there is sea as well. You can send your units to embark like Civilization. And these are enemies with 2 warships. I wonder whether they can attack me from the sea. Have yet to see. See. But anyway, I feel like that's pretty much all you need to see, really. I mean, it looks kind of simple on the outside, but then so does Civilization. And everyone who's played Civilization knows that it's exactly the opposite. Of course, you can play it as is quite simple, but they are all very in-depth. The choices you make in terms of what buildings you're going to make, which city you make your throne city. You can also raise, plunder, or just occupy a city, which will have separate benefits and detriments to your empire. Obviously, putting units in a fort is going to help them when you are defending, so you want to put them with strategic points. You can be attacked at any time. The AI seems pretty competent. As you can see in that last battle, they kind of grouped together because they thought, well, obviously I outnumbered them, so they grouped together so they could attack me multiple times. And yeah, this is on the standard difficulty. There are difficulty options, I believe, not sure how many, but so far, guys, I love it. I've put a few hours into it, and as I said at the beginning, if you enjoyed games like Civilization or any 4X strategy games, I think you should definitely give this a try. It is £30 on Steam, which personally I think is a bit steep. I think more £20 personally, but because obviously it needs patching with certain things as well. But many of you will be happy to pay that. Unfortunately, it's not on Green Man Gaming, so you can't get any discount on there. But yeah, I'd say wait for it to go on sale, unless you really are into games like Civilization and these 4X strategy games, like Warlock as well. They're very similar. But the combat is fantastic. All you want to do really is get into combat because it's so much fun to actually play out. Unlike Civilization, where it's kind of pretty dull and it's just a numbers game, there's much more fun in this. So, cannot recommend it enough in those terms. Especially if you like those games and you want a more combat focused version. So yeah, to finish off, my conclusion is effectively similar to Civ 5 and the previous ones, but with less city building, but on the other hand with much more involved combat and strategy on the combat side of things. And in my humble personal opinion, I very much think you should play Age of Wonders 3. Sorry about the kind of hish-hash style of this video. I did try to streamline it, but clearly I failed. And yeah, thank you for joining me if you got this far. I love you, and leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed. And subscribe for more. Thank you very much. I shall see you next time. Bye.